at Third Way. And on behalf of Third Way, I want to say thank you so much for being here. We're going to get started now with some introductory remarks from Ji Hang Lee, President and CEO of the Association of Community College Trustees. This event is sponsored by Third Way, ACCT, and the Congressional Community College Caucus. Representatives Bilirakis and Courtney are co-chairs of the caucus, and we will be hearing from Representative Bilirakis shortly, and then we will jump into our panel discussion. We are so thrilled that you're here. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll go ahead and get started now.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. There's some soda in the back for some caffeine. Okay. I am Ji Hang Lee, President and CEO of the Association of Community College Trustees. First, I would like to thank our partners at Third Way for organizing this timely discussion. I also want to thank Congressman Bilirakis and Courtney, our co-chairs of the recently relaunched Congressional Community College Caucus, for hosting us on Capitol Hill. As we gather here today during Community College Month, we celebrate the profound impact of these institutions. At the core of the mission of community college lies a steadfast commitment to workforce development. These institutions are uniquely positioned to address the evolving needs of industries and equip individuals with the skills and knowledge required to thrive in today's competitive job market. Through innovative programs and strategic partnerships with local businesses, community colleges ensure that students are well prepared to meet the demands of the workforce. Yet, it's crucial to recognize that the students we serve at community colleges are not just learners, they are the backbone of our communities. With an average age of 27, many of our students are adult learners who balance their educational pursuits with the responsibilities of work and families. 43% of all community college students are 27 years or older, 66% of them are enrolled part-time, and 13% of them are single parents. These students are parents, caregivers, and providers, striving to create better lives for themselves and their loved ones. Our students' dedication and resilience are truly inspiring, and it's an honor to support them on their educational journey. Community colleges provide the opportunity for a better life, with the median earnings of full-time employees increasing substantially with higher educational attainment. This underscores the economic opportunities that community colleges can provide on a daily basis. Whether through workforce program or associate's degrees, individuals can significantly enhance their earning potential, paving the way for greater financial stability and upward mobility. With that, I would like to ask Congressman Bilirakis to share some words with us before we kick off our programming.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. It's an honor to be here today, and I'm a strong supporter. I think most of you know the community college system. Having gone to St. Petersburg College, and I also sponsored the bill in the House of Representatives in Florida to offer the four-year degrees and take the junior college out of the community college. I think it's so very important, and I'm proud to also work with this wonderful president of Pasco Hernando Community College. So I want to thank you again for this important conversation today. Americans have been hurt by crushing inflation, and they're counting on us to restore fiscal sanity. One important tool for helping get our economy back on track is investing in workforce education, such as the programs we are here today to discuss. And again, off my script, these are such valuable entities in our education system. First of all, people, like you said, we have single parents that go back to school. they probably wouldn't be able to if they didn't have, because they'd have to drive to a university which is 2 or 3 hours away, and not everyone is ready to go to college right away. As you said, sir, Mr. President, the average age is 27 years old. I have a son that's going back to school now, and he's attending St. Petersburg College. So wonderful opportunities. My brother was also got his AA from the community college and became a physician, one of the best physicians in the area. So students can leave workforce education and apprenticeship programs armed with the tools, industry certifications, and hands-on skills they need to be successful in high-skill, high-wage, high-demand jobs. These skilled workers can be the catalyst for fueling our nation's economic engine, because employers are desperate for trained and talented workers. And where an educated workforce exists, the jobs will continue to come, and that's so true. And you know, we specialize in areas of need in the community. The simple truth is that not every student needs a 4-year degree or more, but if you do, if the student does, that's available to them as well. So it's a win-win situation. Far too many students leave universities, that's true, with a 4-year degree and thousands of dollars of debt. And that's true. I have 4 sons. And I could only go so far as paying their tuition, so they do have student loans. So they are not finding well-paying opportunities within their field of study, and they don't have the skills, like the ones provided in workforce training programs, to be qualified for the jobs that do exist, and they're very high-paying jobs, folks. In my district, we're fortunate to have a true gem in Pasco Hernando State College, which has aligned its workforce training programs to the needs of industry and has had profoundly positive impacts on the regional economy, and that's true. And I represent all of the campuses in Pasco and Hernando Community College. I teach at St. Petersburg College on Monday mornings and hope to teach, as I said before to the president, hope to teach at Pasco Hernando one day as well. So I'm honored that you'll be hearing from Dr. Jesse Pizers later today. Dr. Pizers is in Pasco Hernando College. He's the 5th president since the founding 51 years ago, and while he has only been with the college a brief time, he's made a tremendous impact. He is continuing a rich legacy of visionary leadership in order to meet students where they are and help them achieve their personal and professional goals. Dr. Pizers is a seasoned leader in the field of high education, with a deep commitment to facilitating transformation through education. With a distinguished career spanning more than 25 years, Dr. Pizers has demonstrated ability to drive positive growth, enhance student experiences, and strengthen community ties. We need it all. He has served as Vice President of Texas A&M University, San Antonio, and University of Houston, Victoria. We are delighted to have him here at the helm of Pasco Hernando State College, and I believe he will provide meaningful input in the discussion here today. Again, I will continue to support career and technical education. We have to get rid of the stigma, and we are, ladies and gentlemen. These are high-paying jobs, and they're respective jobs, and they're invaluable to our community. We need the apprenticeships and other hands-on learning opportunities for students of all ages, because I understand the important role that these programs play in our society. Thank you for being a part of these innovative programs and for your advocacy here today. I look forward to learning from you and to working alongside you. Thank you so very much for giving me the opportunity. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Unfortunately, I have to leave. There's not much going on in Congress. I tell you that. I'm going to leave it. Thank you. Never go home, man. Take care. Thank you very much.
Okay. Today, our panelists will highlight how community colleges work closely with industry to support skills enhancement and build pipelines to local jobs in their communities. But don't take it from me. Today, you'll hear directly from people on the ground who are making this happen. To my right is Mina Wu, who serves as Vice President of Workforce Innovation Strategic Partnerships at Howard Community College. In this role, she works closely with businesses and industry partners to foster partnerships, provide workforce talent development and training solutions, particularly as she has been instrumental in creating the first cybersecurity registered apprenticeship, which provides security clearance with AT&T. Directly to my right is Dr. Jesse Pizors, who is the president of Pasco Hernando State College, which offers over 90 accredited programs and serves 9,000 students on 5 campuses just north of Tampa Bay. Dr. Pizors, as Congressman Bilirakis mentioned, has 25 years of leadership experience in higher education and previously was at Texas A&M University San Antonio and also at the University of Houston, Victoria, before joining us at Pasco Hernando. And then also to my right is Kinsey Walker, who is program analyst with the Appalachian Regional Commission, a state and federal agency serving 13 states and 423 counties lining the Appalachian Mountains. Kinsey currently supports education and workforce grant management and program development at ARC. She also leads ARC's partnership with community college organizations nationally and regionally to support their role in workforce development ecosystems in Appalachia. I look forward to their lively discussion, and I will turn it over to our moderator.
Well, thank you so much to Representative Bilirakis and Ji Hang for those remarks and for being here with us today. As they highlighted, community colleges occupy a critical space in our workforce development ecosystem, and that is why we're thrilled today to have these 3 wonderful panelists, each of whom come with a unique perspective on the role that community colleges play in helping train students for the jobs of tomorrow. So I would kind of love to start first off with that question in mind to all of our panelists, getting at exactly that. In each of your positions, what role do you see community colleges playing in workforce development? So Mina, I will pass it to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for having me and for being here to talk about this very important topic. So as a Vice President of Workforce Innovation and Strategic Partnership, that's what I think about all the time, workforce partnerships and how we innovate in that space to solve these solutions. And according to Georgetown University's most recent report from the Center for Education and Workforce Development, they talk about how 70% of jobs require education beyond high school. For us to fill those needs, we really need to look at how our students are transitioning from high school beyond and to beyond. And according to the data, we only have about 50% of our community and our residents meeting that mark. So we are leaving a lot of people behind. And that's where I think that community colleges can play such a unique and pivotal role in fulfilling that need. Community colleges, we are an open access institution, which means it doesn't matter what you did or how you performed at school, what your background was, you are welcome here. We are an open access institution, which means that we are accessible. Community colleges are all around the country in every region. So if you wanted to get an education, there is a community college near you. And we are devoted to the community we are in, which is pivotal because it is those businesses and the companies and those economies that we respond to. So we can be sensitive to what those workforce needs are and be a viable solution to meeting those workforce needs.
Hi, y'all. I'm going to do my best to represent for every rural community college in the country with my two esteemed panelists here. Even though rural Nebraska and rural West Virginia can be very different places, I do believe we face a lot of the same challenges. And like you said, I mean, our community colleges are sometimes the institution that sit in the county. They serve as much more than an educational institution. And I think the additional responsibilities can be both great and challenging. But what I hope that they take away from this is that they do have hubs of basic needs support for students. Students are more likely to get through to completion with those resources, and community colleges are who are providing those resources. Yes, they're nimble, they can move with industry, which is the other great part, as you mentioned, but I think really focusing on the fact that they have way more responsibility for a student's holistic experience and through completion, especially in our smaller communities.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you to Third Way for having me and having us, and to the congressman for facilitating this. How many of you here, quickly raise your hand, ever did any part of your education at a community college or technical college? Okay, probably about a third of the room. That's wonderful. You know, I want to start by just emphasizing, because I know so much information comes at you and there's not a lot you can retain and take away. Remember what Mina said, the 50 versus the 70. 70% of positions require a post-secondary credential or training of some kind. 50% of people get it. Okay, so that 20% is a real problem. It's not only a problem for the people who would be benefited by having a well-paying job, who need to participate in the economy of today and tomorrow and will struggle because they won't have that. It's also a problem to the industry and the companies, manufacturing of all types, employers of all types, who need those people and are not getting it. So that 20% deficit is the single biggest illustration of why people are left behind in our country and our economy, and why industry is not able to progress as quickly as we would like it to. So that's a huge takeaway. The other thing I'd like to give you on community colleges is, more than any other type of post-secondary education, we face simultaneously in two directions. We face towards students, open access, students of all kinds, of all backgrounds. How can we meet your needs, from 16-year-olds in high school and dual enrollment and trades learning that they can do in high school, all the way to people who are my age and older who need to upskill, or even retired people who want to have an opportunity to learn something new. We're student-facing, but we're simultaneously industry-facing. That's what sets us apart from universities. I would know, most of my background is in universities. I'm very proud of what I did there, what I learned there, but universities are not primarily industry or workforce facing. They simply are not. We are working to meet those needs very directly on a very daily, weekly basis. We're constantly monitoring our programs to make them work for the needs that they have. So we're looking at a student and saying, how can we get you that credential that you need to be successful in the workforce? And we're looking at the workforce and saying, what do you need in your employees that are coming in? We're doing both of those things at the same time, and that's why we are, in so many ways, the solution to workforce education.
Yeah, thank you all. That really gave us kind of a higher level look at how community colleges play a critical role in job training and also providing this sort of open access to students of all backgrounds. So I'd kind of love to delve a little bit more into what we're seeing happening on the ground at community colleges in this space. So turning first to you, Kinsey, I would love to, in your role at the Appalachian Regional Commission, you work with community colleges, as you mentioned, across a large region of the country. What are some examples of community colleges that your organization works with that you think are doing kind of a standout job partnering with employers specifically in their communities?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of examples of that across all of our counties, but a couple I think that are really important maybe to you and the folks that you serve are our most critical need career areas, our healthcare, our early childhood, our infrastructure. Those folks that are doing those jobs are coming from the community college space most of the time. And the way they are rising to meet those challenges is extremely impressive. Some of our community colleges in our smallest communities are pulling in $9 to $10 million of federal funding braided together and managing it in some really small areas to do big impact work in infrastructure, healthcare, and early childhood. I doubt there is a state that you work with that is not concerned about those three things. And that is truly like where community colleges are shining. They're also leveraging their partnerships with us. We have state representation with our organization, so we have state leadership as well as federal leadership, which makes it a little interesting sometimes to get everybody on the same page, but it's really for the best because we can then take these programs that community colleges are doing, explain to the states how they can help, and we act as kind of a convener between the two. When that may be a tough reach for them otherwise to get to their state capital, depending on location, what they have access to. There's a myriad of challenges for folks in our region to sometimes get to their state capital, to their representatives. And then there's state barriers that come into place with certifications, especially in the early childhood space, healthcare space, like trying to get people what they need in their certifications to meet the demand for those roles. That's another thing that our community colleges step up and do every time in partnership with us if they need that advocacy, but they really are doing most of this work. I am just here to brag on them. They are doing most of this work. We fund these projects. We do provide federal funding for these projects. That's most of what I do every day, but we give them technical assistance. We help them navigate this process. Because if you're a community college in our region, your president might be writing the grant. They don't have a grants office. They don't have a development director. The president is actually the person managing the grant sometimes through completion and navigating amendments and helping them manage this program, all at the same time as running his local community college, which is a lot to ask. So that while their burden is heavy, they are still very much rising to the challenge and navigating creative things. We were talking about your title earlier, which is a really cool title. So they are doing things like that, like creating positions that maybe that person wears 3 hats and that title tries to encompass all of those hats. So I think being creative, being nimble like they always are, but using the resources to help navigate where the barriers may exist, especially for those critical need hiring areas in the region, is where they're really shining the most.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think also a lot of people in this room are thinking a lot about those areas where there's a great demand, early childhood education, healthcare, and it's really great to hear that perspective. And I know you also mentioned Mina's title, so turning to you, Mina, your title at Howard Community College includes workforce and strategic partnerships, which means in your role, you play an essential part in connecting students to jobs and also apprenticeships at companies in your community. Could you tell us a little bit more about what the partnerships look like at your college and maybe specifically about sort of how earn and learn models like apprenticeships are so important for both students and employers?
Yes, thank you. My president goes around all the time saying she has the best job on campus because I get to go out and have a lot of fun. So I've been at the college for 24 years and have been working with a lot of different population. If you know anything about Howard County, Maryland, we are one of the richest counties in the country. We are one of the most well-educated counties in the country. And I think we were always in one of the top 10 rankings for things like that. When I took on the position of workforce development, I recognized that there were people we were leaving behind that we weren't servicing as well, because the lovely part about these richest counties are that it's an average, right? We have people making a lot of money, but we also have a lot of people who weren't meeting that average. 1 in 4 families are categorized as ALICE population. If you are familiar with that term, is asset limited income, income stricken, constrained employed. So these are working professionals who are not making enough to make ends meet. And in our county, 1 in 4 people fall into that. In the city that we are located, our college is located, 34% of our population is considered ALICE, which means that they were having a very hard time. We are a leader in registered apprenticeships in Maryland. We are the largest non-traditional apprenticeship sponsor in the state. And one of the reasons we got into that area was because of the 2 major trends we were seeing. So first trend was that our students were going to school part-time, and that number was increasing. At one point, we had 83% of our students who are going to school part-time. What does that mean? It means that you are not able to finish and get to the finish line of your degree fast faster because it'll take you longer if you're going to school part-time. Another thing that is that you are going to school part-time because you're not able to go to school full-time because you have family and other obligations. Many of our students are working full-time or multiple part-time jobs, and they are supporting their family. As the President Jang said, they are working, they are parents themselves, and they have a lot of obligations. And as our part-time numbers were growing, our completion numbers were dropping. And we know that they need to have this degree in order to get to their next career. Another thing we saw was that the very job they were doing to fund their education, which typically is in retail or service-oriented occupations because they don't have a degree or certificate, those very jobs that they were doing in order to fund their education was pulling them away from education. They would often get calls from their supervisors to say, hey, so-and-so called off, you need to come to work tonight. And if they didn't, then they would lose that job that they so direly need in order to fund their education and support their family. So the jobs were pulling them away. At the same time, because I have the partnership in my title, I am going out and talking to businesses. And the businesses were saying, we can't find the right talent. You know, these people coming out of school with degrees, bachelor's degrees, sometimes master's degrees, they're not ready for the job. And they were complaining about this lack of workforce pipeline. So when those two conversations were going on, we really looked to the registered apprenticeship model to say maybe we can alleviate both needs by doing this. So registered apprenticeship is earn while you learn model. They take the education or college credits that are aligned to their career, and they're working at the same time. And this work is based on the topic that they're studying. So for example, our IT cybersecurity program, the students are hired by AT&T, and they are working and earning the wage they need to support their family and continue their education. AT&T pays for the tuition and fees for the student to attend school. So the students are attending school full-time or part-time, and they're doing it for free. And at the end, they have a guaranteed job upon completion. They're earning industry-recognized certifications. They're earning college credits. Some of our registered apprenticeship programs are earning full degrees, but 100% of them are graduating with a job, and 100% of them are graduating without any college debt. So as part of my role at the college, I get to talk to businesses and really challenge them. If they say, we can't find the workforce, or sometimes they say, we want to diversify our workforce, we challenge them and say, what are you doing differently? Because especially in IT, if you are just saying, I'm going to figure out who's graduating with a 4-year degree and select them, you're never going to change your diversity number because it's mostly white men who are studying those degrees. So if you want to be intentional about the way your company looks or the way you want to invest in your company culture, then registered apprenticeship is a good option. So we have been able to expand from IT to have 10 different registered apprenticeships offering 15 occupations in all the areas: education, healthcare, IT, construction, and so forth. And our students have been benefiting from that option, and our companies have been very thrilled about the type of students that they have been receiving.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like you gave a lot of great examples of how community colleges, or your community college, is in kind of the center of meeting the needs of both local employers, but also setting students up for success and meeting them kind of where they're at. So we are also lucky enough, as the opening remarks noted, to have a community college president with us today. Dr. Peisers, as the president of Pasco Hernando State College, how do you think community colleges can continue to adapt their curriculum and course offerings to meet these workforce needs? And if there are any examples from your community college in particular that you wanted to highlight for that, that would be great.
Sure. You know, community colleges were built in their heyday 50, 60, 70 years ago on the idea of partnership with industry. and workforce, right? So this is not new to us. This is fundamental to the DNA of community colleges, always has been, always will be. I'll give you just a quick story to illustrate how we, and I believe probably most other community colleges work. So this happened just a few weeks ago. We had an event at our college, and it was a workforce industry partnership event. We do it once a year. Now, there are additional times during the year when smaller groups get together, but this was a big group. We probably had 200 people in the room, and we had 20 programs represented. So there's a round table with 10 people for dental hygiene. Okay, we have our program director, we have 2 or 3 faculty members, we have a couple of local dentists, we have a couple of local professional dental hygienists, and they're having a conversation, a very detailed conversation for 2 hours that is along the lines of, how are our students coming out of the program? Are there any deficits in their preparation? Where are they strong? Where are they weak? Where are the trends where we need to bolster our programs? We need to change things. And this is happening on a regular basis with every one of our workforce programs. So we are constantly modifying our programs. We're constantly tweaking our courses. And let me say this, carefully, but in other areas of higher education outside of community colleges, that just doesn't happen. I know I've been there for 25 years. It can't happen. It's not really built that way. So community colleges are not just built to say, we're going to educate students, we're going to hand them off to the world of work, and we're confident they're going to do well. No, we work from both sides of it simultaneously. We are working with the students, provide them a great education, and we're talking to workforce and saying, is this good enough? Are we doing what we need to do? They're saying, we had a great meeting the other day with chief nursing officers from several of our local hospitals saying, talk to us about the deficits in training, not just in our nurses, but any nurses. What can we do a little differently? And we're not having that conversation occasionally or sporadically. That is built into our curriculum development. So I think that's an important part of what we're doing. This goes a little far afield of your question, but I want to mention this. I serve on the board of our Economic Development Council, right? So this is the organization that is trying to bring industry and jobs to Pasco County, one of the 2 fastest growing counties in Florida. They're doing a great job. A lot of industry is coming in. You know, and you probably know the answer to this question, but the number one question that an industry has when they want to locate somewhere is, tell me about the workforce. You can wave $100 million in front of them in rebates and incentives and all kind of that stuff. They'll say, that's nice, tell me about the workforce. I'm not even kidding, because they're smart enough to know that those tax incentives, all that is helpful and good, but it will not be as big an indicator of their future success as the quality of trained workforce that they will have. And if the only answer they get is, we have these universities, we have these institutions of higher education, we produce all these degrees, they're kind of like, well, I have a $10 million piece of medical equipment that I'm about to install in a cancer research hospital, and I need to be able to have people I can train specifically to operate that piece of technology, to repair it, to maintain it. And they want to know if there's somebody in the community who can provide that training. And the person there with their hands in the air is the community college. So the direct impact on economic development and organizations coming to an area is directly tied to the work of community colleges. We see it every day. So.
That's great. So, we are here in a room full of hardworking and wonderful staffers for members of Congress. So I thought this would be a great chance to kind of open it up to all of you. Are there any thoughts that you have on how folks in this room and their bosses may best support you as you all continue the great work that you are doing in your roles? Might put it to you. Sorry again to put you on the spot.
Sure. So there's so much you can do. I think, first of all, funding, you hear that all the time, right? But funding is an issue for a lot of community colleges, and we're seeing that the formula used to be a third of the funding comes from the state, the third comes from the county, the third comes from the tuition and students. And it's really become lopsided where the biggest pot comes from the students, and then the state, and then the county. So the funding is always something that we are very interested in, not because we just want the money, but because we are serving the most vulnerable. We are serving the students who have the most need. So that is one. The second thing is, as you are looking at workforce development, I would challenge all of you to think about what that means. Think about the current status quo of education as well as hiring. And I think we can challenge. We've been doing things this way for a very long time. Has it served all students from all different backgrounds and diversity the same way? And if it hasn't, what ways can we change to level that playing field, provide that opportunity equally? So one of the things I'll highlight is ACT-CT recently had an initiative called skill-based hiring. And Howard Community College was one of the schools that really looked into how we look at that. And in some of the findings were that there has been over the decades a inflation of degrees. So positions that you did not used to require bachelor's degree are now require bachelor's degree. And some of those positions may not necessarily need a bachelor's degree. So when you're looking at these positions, bachelor's degree sort of becomes that paper ceiling, that wall that people can't break through, because in order for some of our students to get to that milestone, it takes them a very long time. But if we really looked at how we are hiring and preparing people to work in some of these industries, it may be really looking at the skills and competencies they need, and community colleges will be there for all those industries who are interested, and really looking at what are the core critical skills and competencies, and how can we get more people who are capable and intelligent into those career paths.
I know everyone here doesn't serve a rural state or work with folks from rural states, so this is across the board, I think. Just acknowledgement that the community colleges are doing many things. If a disaster happens in a place, they are often the hub of relief. They need additional support for that. If an industry moves in, like the stories you were telling, they need additional support to be able to navigate that pathway with those industries. That often comes from the state. Education is a very state-focused entity, policy and practice. So I think just awareness that they are often the go-to for not only like the worst-case scenario, but also like the best-case scenario and what's happening in the places that you serve. I also think, like we constantly mention the nimbleness, but the role goes beyond educating enrolled students. Community colleges, truly to their name, serve their community. And nothing against our higher ed friends that are four-year universities, because they do great work too, and they are anchors, especially when they sometimes are the biggest city in a state when students are in session. But community colleges truly are the focal point in good, bad, ugly, and different. And I really hope that they get the acknowledgement for all the work that they do. That's what I hope we take back from this.
So I've got to say this, and I hope you know this already, but if the federal government could do one thing for us right now, it would be to help us get through the FAFSA crisis that we're in the middle of. So let me just illustrate, and as a president, this is an existential crisis for some colleges. Because for better or worse, over the years, FAFSA has become the doorway through which aid, whether it's loans, Pell Grants, et cetera, comes to our students. Surprise, surprise, that's actually our revenue source too, because the students pay us, right? So to blow that up midstream is going to hurt tens of thousands of students. It's going to hurt colleges. And those that are on shaky financial footing, may not even be able to weather the storm. So the fact, now I am in agreement that we needed to update the FAFSA form. Absolutely, we need to work on that. And I also understand, especially as a president, that change and transition, there are always bumps in the road. But we got more than bumps in the road here, right? So we really need to have the support that we need to get through the next 6 or 8 months and be able to enroll our students, get them the aid that they need, and that flow through to the colleges. So FAFSA is certainly a major challenge that we're facing, and any support that we can get to get us through this difficult period of transition would be appreciated by literally tens or hundreds of thousands of students, not to mention the colleges who serve them. I would also say something we were talking about earlier, infrastructure is a major issue with community colleges. Many of us are 40 to 60 years old. There's just a lot of community colleges that are about 50 years old, like mine right now. And most of those buildings have, done the best we could maintaining them for 50 years, but let's face it, a 50-year-old building has some real issues. And so we're facing, I think collectively, the 28 state colleges in Florida, these are, now hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of deferred maintenance. Now, obviously, we're trying to manage that. We do get some help from the state there, but I think that's a broad thing to look at. We talk about the big infrastructure bill. Well, think about infrastructure in community colleges. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers of students who we're putting into the workforce, the impact we're making. I mean, something to really help all of us with our aging facilities would go a really long way. So I'll leave it at that. But we do appreciate the support we get from the federal government, and that support is critical. We're grateful for it. So.
Thank you. We've talked about kind of successful things that you all are seeing kind of at your community colleges or the community colleges that you work with, and kind of how members and staffers in this room can be supportive at the federal level. I would love, kind of as we get close to our time here, to hear from each of you, what are opportunities or projects as you kind of look forward to the future? What excites you when it comes to successful community college and workforce partnerships? Dr. Peisers, I will pass back to you so I don't have to keep doing this to Mina.
Okay, real quick. Man, I'm just so excited about all the programs that we have, the great paying jobs. So I'm just going to give you this story. It's an example. We have a relatively new drone program, right? We have about 30 or 40 students that we graduate every year from that program. We're a little unique in that we train in drone operation, sky, land, and sea. So they're actually drones that like swim in the water. We work with those. A lot of water in Florida, and the ones that go on the ground, and obviously the ones that fly. I spent about half an hour with a group of 7 students who are finishing the drone program just last week. Zach is one of them. Zach told me, I said, hey, so where are you looking for a job? You graduate in a month. He said, oh, I have a job. I said, you're getting paid? He said, no, but I signed a contract. I said, if you don't mind, can I ask you how much you're going to make? He's like, $60,000. So $60,000 straight out of an associate's degree, loves what he does. He can build on that. He can open his own business. He's going into oil and gas exploration. That's what they're doing with drone operation. Now, drones cost $15,000 a piece, the ones that we use for educational purposes. We could really use some more. So these are challenges we work around. But I am just thrilled with story after story of students I talk with who are saying, I'm graduating, I'm going to be making twice as much money as I'm making now, and I'm in a career that is just exploding. I will be able to set my price because everybody will need me, and I could say that about program after program. So I'm excited about things like that, and it just illustrates to you how community colleges are meeting the very direct workforce needs, leading to very well-paying jobs immediately. So.
I'm going to expand on that a little bit and then talk about the money that's available, because that's primarily what I do. I get to hand out money, which is a great, fun thing, and it has a lot of rules, as you all know, with federal funding, but it's still like a very critical need for our university, our community colleges and university partners. But our folks have been able to expand to high school students with the same opportunity. Our biggest goal in the region is often attracting and retaining our young talent. We are constantly losing our young talent in rural communities. With the ability to be a high school student and go through a Learn and Earn program at Toyota and come out with a salary by the time you're a senior is life-changing for a lot of our families. And that keeps that student in a good place to then foster what they can do in their community and stay with either that company or maneuver their career, even without entering into a college classroom. They've been at Toyota taking these classes with the community college on site just about 2 blocks away. So there are a lot of these programs where this is even reaching into our K-12 students to help attract and retain young talent in rural communities that I could brag on, but that's just one that I'll talk about. It goes hand in hand with all the great stories that I could tell that you were talking about through adult students as well. But our funding programs, we have, for the first time ever, multi-state funding available. I know I said I work in 13 states, but normally those are individual, like counties applying for grants. Now we have the opportunity to serve more than one state at one time. Toyota program that I just referenced is an example of that. It's actually happening in West Virginia and Mississippi, who I know are not close together. However, they have Toyota sites that are working in tandem to serve those students at the same time through this opportunity. We love a good acronym in the federal government. This program is called ARISE. It is the first multi-state initiative for the Appalachian region, and we are up to $10 million in implementation, which is huge and really life-changing for our communities. And we also have a planning process if they're not quite ready yet and need to evaluate their workforce partners and their schools and see what's best for them. We also work with the Department of Labor on workforce opportunities for rural communities, which just opened about 2 weeks ago. A lot of our community colleges are grantees in that space, and it's all for workforce training and wraparound services. If you're not familiar with our region, we are still battling the long road in recovery ecosystems due to the opioid crisis. So this has a special amendment, if you will, to cover all of those wraparound services that folks need to build a true recovery ecosystem and workforce for our schools. And then we also have the community colleges of Appalachia, which is over 80 community colleges that convene and do communities of practice so that folks with cool titles can share how they got them, really cool programs can talk to other people that have really cool programs, and we can hopefully spread that around the whole region because they learn more from each other than they ever will from anything else. So those are the 3 things that we have going on right now or in the next month.
I love to be adopted into your community college. So there are a lot of cool things going on in community colleges. I think dual enrollment, opportunity to graduate high school with an associate's degree, being able to build these certificates and degree programs and short-term training programs to support industry need. But I'm going to return to registered apprenticeships, and I'm a champion for registered apprenticeship because I think that could be a huge equalizer. Education once was, and now it's sort of moved away, and I think this really provides opportunity for people. It removes a lot of barriers into entry into different professions, and it also provides them the resources they need in order to be successful. So I keep capitalizing on that. I think registered apprenticeships have the opportunity to really work in that space that's of discrepancy, right? 70% needing post-high school education degree, only 50% of our population with it. How do we make that up? Registered apprenticeship could be one of those ways we can do that. And I'm really excited about the executive order that President Biden signed last month to scale and expand registered apprenticeships, not only into industries, but in federal government as well. And federal government is one of the largest employers in this country, and they're setting an example by doing that. And one exciting work that is happening in Maryland is we are working with the state of Maryland to provide public sector registered apprenticeships, and we have gotten to an agreement where the state has said, okay, this occupation requires a bachelor's degree, but we will take associate's degree plus 2-3 years in apprenticeship, and it will count the same way. So we are making those pathways that will provide opportunities for people who typically would not think about those careers. So I'm super excited about how we as community colleges can really embrace that model, because we already have the trainings available. All we need to do is do that matchmaking with the industries and our students. And I think we have willing partners at this time.
Well, thank you all so much for this great conversation. I feel like I learned a lot about the wonderful things that you all are doing kind of in your roles, and I'm excited for the kind of future of workforce development at community colleges. So I am going to now turn it over to my colleague, Emily Rounds, to kind of close us out.
Thank you to our wonderful panel. Thank you so much, Corinne, for moderating that conversation, and thank you all so much again for being here today. As we've heard from our panelists, community colleges are integral in shaping the workforce that we know today and building our future workforce to meet our country's evolving demands. With strong, innovative partnerships, these institutions are adapting to meet our country's workforce needs, changing curriculum, fostering intentional relationships with local industry partners, placing students in high-demand jobs, and helping folks find strong careers and earnings. Our workforce and economy would not be what they are today without our community colleges. Thank you so much for sharing your work and experiences with us today. We're very excited to see the work that you all continue to do to help students and our workforce. And thank you to the Congressional Community College Caucus co-chairs, Representative Bilirakis and Courtney, and their teams for their tremendous support today, and to the Association of Community College Trustees for co-sponsoring this event with Third Way. And thank you all so much for joining us. We have a few extra minutes left, and so if you have any questions for our panelists or would like to get their contact information, they will be prepped to do so. And if you have any questions for Third Way or ACCT or about the caucus, feel free to flag us. Thank you again so much for being here.